Today we're going to make a ceramic tile with a nature theme. So here are some examples of some ones I've done in the past and the students from the past. They're called relief sculptures because they're not fully three-dimensional, but they do come off of the surface, and that's called a relief. When a carving is carved into the surface so that it looks like it's kind of like coming out, that's a relief sculpture. So here we have some kind of beetle, a horse, a dragonfly, sunflower, and I believe this was a hummingbird. When yours are completed, they'll be painted with watercolor, and then we'll clear paint over that. So how do you make a relief sculpture? Well, let me just back up 1 second. You also need to make sure you put a border around it before you start carving. And I'll talk about that a little more with the drawing. So let me move these out of the way. First, you need a sketch. I'm going to give you a 4x4 inch piece of paper, and you're going to do your design on that paper. So anything to do with nature. So I did a sun shining through the clouds, and actually I was going to go this way. Let me see, which way do I want it to be? Sunrise or sun up? I'm going to go with, I guess it doesn't matter. So there's my drawing. It's ready to transfer onto the clay tile that I just cut out. So I'll pre-cut the clay for you. And before I get started, I'm going to take my finger around the edge, make sure it looks nice. It's easier to do this now than it will be later. So I'm going to get all the imperfections smoothed out. If you want to, you can get your finger a little wet and do this. You might also want to kind of wipe the top down a little bit to get all of the texture from the canvas out of it. When I roll these, I use a special roller, and it has some canvas fabric on it to keep it from sticking, and it can leave little imprintations from the fabric. Alright, that's step one. Tidy it up. Step two, put your drawing on top. And get a sharp pencil and try to transfer your drawing like this. Let's see how it's coming out. Yeah, I can see it. It's barely there. I don't want to go too deep, and it's okay if you go through the paper a little bit, but I really don't want to have like super deep gouges. So I'm actually ripping the paper as I draw. And that's partially because when it's on top of the clay, it's so soft, it wants to push through the paper. And the clay is a little wet, so it makes the paper soft. Alright, got that. I think I'll draw my cloud. I'm going to do the lines freehand because things get a little messed up when you're doing this. It's hard to stay on the line. You get caught in little grooves. Alright, I'll take that off. Okay, now I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to switch over to a wooden stick, and I'm just going to lightly scribe those lines again. Kind of like when we do the foil assignments. You have to do it a couple times. So I got a little weird thing there. I want to smooth that out. Whatever is here is not going away. So like if I leave like a crumb like that, it's not going anywhere. So when we're all done, that crumb is actually going to be part of your assignment. So you want to get everything cleaned up as best you can. Alright. So I actually smoothed that out because it was a little imperfect looking. Now I'm going to go around these clouds. Alright, now look at your clay. Look at it from the side. How thick is this clay? It's not very thick. So you have to think, use your head. I don't want to carve through my clay. And that's the first thing we're going to do is do some carving. So I have some different wire hoop tools. First thing I like to do is make sure they're clean. I'll just scrape them off. Because those little crumbs are actually they're not going anywhere. They're going to mess up your cutting. They get in the way and they make it look irregular. So all these tools have a little bit of clay stuck on them, so I want to get that off by just scraping them with one of the tools. Okay. This is my favorite tool. It's kind of squarish. I'm going to use that to get started. I want to leave this high, high, high. Oh, you know what? I forgot to draw these lines in. Let me get that quick. So I just did some radial lines coming out of the sun, because you know that I like those in my art. All right. So let's see. How am I going to do this? I don't want to carve. I want to show the lines. So I think I'm going to carve out at an angle towards my sun. Get that piece off of there. Keep all the clay on the paper at all times, please. Carve that at an angle that way. Angle. So it's called a bevel when you do that. I'll carve a little baby one there. Now I'll try to get these to set up a little bit before we start carving. That means I'm going to try to let them get hard before we carve them, because if they're really mushy soft, they don't carve very well. This one I just made, it's mushy. It's easier to carve when it's a little firmed up, like almost what they call leather hard, but not quite. Leather hard's pretty hard. Once you go to leather hard, then it's like real quick to being too dry and easy to break. All right, now I'm going to go through here and clean up all those little pieces. Every time I get like little lumps on this stick here, I try to get them off. Just put them on my paper. Now, no matter how careful you are, you're still probably going to get some clay on the floor or here and there. So we're going to have to make sure we clean up after class. See, like it's spinning off my paper already. So we're going to have to wipe all the tables down. Make sure there's no clay left in the room. Alright, so I'm giving my sun kind of I'm rounding it out by slowly carving down with this. Now I could move to using a tool. I just want to be real careful. When you use tools, it's easy to go too far, too fast. That goes for using any like power tools too. I think about when I use a power sander, it's really easy to accidentally go through the surface of something because it's powerful, way faster than you would if you were working by just using a hand tool. Now these are hand tools, but it's easy to grab into that clay and just really mess it up. Alright, I'm going to take this now, and actually I'm going to take my finger and I'm just going to smooth that sun out. Like that. And then I'm just going to go back through that groove, make sure that looks nice and clean. That looks nice. Alright. Yeah, I still might. You know what? I'm going to push on that spot there because it just looks, I don't like that bump. There, that looks better. I want it to look kind of like more of a sphere. Alright, now I can work on these grooves a little more. I'll just take them off there. Go down a little deeper. All right. Now I'm going to pull back towards the sun. So those clouds stand out. So I'm trying to make the clouds look like they're more above the surface then. I'm gonna have to just take all that out and draw the lines back in there. So I'm always reconsidering how I'm doing something. Even though I had a plan, I've had to adjust my thinking about it as I work so that I get the best results. In the meantime, I'm thinking about, I don't want to go through the back. If you do go through the back, just take a ball of your scraped off clay and push it into the hole. All right, so here's my sun again. Sometimes these little carving marks look cool too. I don't mind. I kind of like them. If you don't like them though, you have to get in there and smooth it all out. All right, let me put those lines back in there. So see, actually I'm going to take a second and get all my clay pieces into one big chunk. That way they won't get stuck to my tile like they're starting to, and they won't go on the floor. There. Don't ever try to take clay out of the art room. It's not going to do any good. Clay, this real clay just dries out. It's just going to make a mess wherever you take it. You can't really do anything with it unless you have a kiln. All right. Actually, I'm going to work on my clouds before I do the lines again. So I just want to give them a little sculpting here. Give them an angle here first. And this one this one lost its shape. Down. Yeah, those look good. I think I'll leave those kind of flat on top, on the surface like that. Get those crumbs out of the way. And now get my lines back in there. Oh, I see a little bump there I want to get out. See, there's always a little something. You work, you look at it again, work some more, look at it. See how it's coming along. Oops. Get that stuff out of there. So I have like my nice frame. Clean that up. Just gonna line that. And one. Okay, lines. This will be my middle. 1, 2, 3. And I think I'm just going to use the edge of this tool to kind of make a V-shaped groove in between each line instead of carving anymore, since I'm getting so close to the point of going through the back. Everything's fine unless you go through the back. If you go through the back, then you have some patching up to do. I'm losing my circle shape here. Get that. I want it to stay like a half circle. Get that in there. Get that one. That one. That one. Okay. Now, if I want to put any texture in, I think I'll add some texture to my clouds. Draw some little. There. That's done. Now I just want to put a little design around my edge. Just do something simple. You can use these tools to make marks, or you can make something that kind of goes with your design. Just double checking, trying to get all these little crumbs off. I think I'll make little like wind lines. So just a slow curve. Try to get 2 of them. Ooh. Now I'm going to do a pair on each side. Crumbs. One more set, and then I'm just about done. All right. Now I'm finished with all my carving. I'm going to turn it over and write my name, and I'll put the date on it. Go close to the edge so I don't go through the front. 2022. Now I'm going to just brush that up a little bit. Fix that. That's looking a little crumby right there. And then I'll turn it back over. Make sure I didn't pick up any crumbs I don't want. And that's ready to dry now. And the next step will be painting it. So when you get it back, it's going to look like white like this. And then we're going to use watercolors and Mod Podge to seal it. And that's it.